The great painter has something to say. He does not paint men, landscapes, or furniture, but an idea.
Animation is cinema. Animation is not a genre. And animation is ready to be taken to the next step. We are all ready for it.
And the only way that you can exercise the mind is by bringing new ideas to it. So it'll be surprise.
Hello and welcome to Makin Toons, the series where we discuss and learn all about animation and the animation business. I'm Cunningham, and I'm joined by living legend and animated filmmaker Alan Neuwirth. Alan, how are you today?
Please stop calling me a living legend. I'm
Well,
fine.
stop being one, and I will stop calling you that.
I'm alive, but I'm not a legend yet.
Hmm.
But I'm fine. I'm fine to answer your actual question. And it's a beautiful day here in New York City. I feel good. Here we are talking about tunes. What could be bad?
I don't know. Well, it's early summer, and we're approaching Christmas in July, which is a weird tradition that America has developed. But it is leading us in today's topic, which is holiday specials.
Fun
Animated,
topic.
yeah, holiday animated specials. Do do you feel that they are still relevant today?
I do. I know we're going to talk about this with our guests.
Hmm.
I think they're relevant because, let's put it this way, the really good ones, the classic ones, will never not be relevant.
Hmm.
No, they're morality plays.
Mm.
They're modern American folk parables, basically, and that never goes out of style, I mean, all the enduring ones really kind of revolve around, spiritual imbalance and being restored.
Yep.
And if you, we're not going to do it now, but if you actually start to dissect them, that really is what they're
Yeah.
all about. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. So I think they're still relevant. Someone is always alienated or feels unworthy or is spiritually off, or society itself is cold and commercialized, like in the Peanuts specials,
Hmm.
or someone's lost their way, or their connection, and then there's revelation and transformation and all of that. And I think that's kind of universal, And not only that, I mean, the ones that we're going to talk about today, the really, really, the ones that nobody gets tired of seeing, it's always about the human connection
Yep.
mattering more than ego or greed or consumerism or materialism, that kind of thing. I think that's classic. I think it's perennial, you know so I think they matter. What's interesting is, are we watching them the same way as we did when
Mm.
it first came on? And we're not. I mean, and we'll talk about that with our guests too. But there's just that the audiences, there were massive audiences for these things, all watching them at the same time. And now, I mean, do you feel they're still relevant?
I feel they are relevant to on an individual case by case basis. People, like anything, will relate to them. I think people who have seen them and remember them fondly if they
Hmm.
miss anything. But I feel, being an uncle to a very young family, they are relevant to younger families, growing children. That makes me wonder, though, how do we define Christmas special versus, sorry, holiday special? Because we'll talk about non-Christmas specials in the future in a future episode. I think that's worthy of talking about. But today's focus is primarily Christian Judeo holiday specials.
Yeah.
How would you define the difference between holiday special and holiday movie?
Well, holiday movie, obviously, is much longer, and
Hmm.
it takes a much longer time to make its point. Hey, case in point, How the Grinch Stole Christmas was a short book. They stretched it a little bit with gags and music and songs and things to make it a half hour. And then there was the feature film version with Jim Carrey, who was terrific, by the way.
Yes.
He was amazing as the Grinch, but they just bloated that thing to death. I remember going to the movies to see it and thinking, "Oh my God, what have they done to this simple story?"
It's funny. That's kind of how I feel a little bit about Cinderella. Because the
Which
plot,
version? Which
the
version?
animated Disney Cinderella is,
Really?
well, the plot itself only has a few points. The rest is kind of filled with the antics of the mice.
Yeah, you're right.
Walt really stretched that one out. It was also like Was that his first post World War II movie as well? So like,
I'd have to actually look that up to know, but
I know what, yeah, it feels
it was
there's
in the
a lot
50s.
there.
It was in the 1950s for sure. When did Fantasia, was Fantasia 1940?
1939,
39?
if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
It might have, I mean, they were really cranking them out every few years back then. But interesting. I love Cinderella. I still
Hmm.
love it. And to me, yeah, we all grew up knowing that story. Wait, but we're getting off
No,
topic.
we are. I will say, having recently watched Cinderella, I realized there's very little Cinderella plot in that movie.
Fascinating. Yeah. But most of these fairy tales are very simple and very dark. And Disney is responsible, I guess, as much as anybody for lightening them up and adding jokes and no
Oh
more.
yeah, Hunchback of Notre Dame without those gargoyles is talk about morality plays. But back to our holiday special versus holiday movies.
Yeah, I mean, they're different animals. Most specials are either half an hour or an hour long. For me, the best ones are half an hour, but you can't deny that Rudolph is a classic at an hour, and so is Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. But there's something just so lovely about a bite-sized
Yeah,
special with beautiful animation and a heart-wrenching story that makes you feel good at the end. And it's got gorgeous songs or memorable, some of them very memorable. And we'll talk about that today with the guys too.
I
Some of
was
the
doing a little when I was doing a little research for this episode.
Yeah.
I had learned that special it came from a special holiday episode of a thing, and which I find that to be very interesting because that means we started applying holiday special to things like Rudolph after the fact because
Well,
they
that's a
weren't
good point.
feature length and they weren't an episode of a grant. Like we didn't see Rudolph's entire year, we saw Rudolph's day.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how we kind of reposition and reclaim the zeitgeist nomenclature that we're doing.
Although specials, I forget, was it Weaver? Was it Sigourney Weaver's dad?
Bob
Uh,
Weaver.
Pardon?
Is it Bob Weaver?
No, it's not Bob. It's not Bowl Weaver.
He did
Or
run NBC for a while though.
yeah, I'm trying to remember. Anyway, um, he called. They were specials and spectaculars. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, I don't know who coined the, who coined the phrase, but it works. I mean, they're not their
Does.
usual programming. We're going to hear Alan Wagner, the CBS exec, talk later on in the show about how the network was loath to preempt any of their hit shows to show this untried, untested thing. They all thought that they're going to lose their audience, that everyone's going to just turn off the TV or go do something else.
They were wrong.
They were very wrong. And look what happened. I mean, it's the exact opposite.
As I understand it, you yourself have a holiday special under your belt as
A
well.
few. Yeah, a
Hmm.
few actually. Um, Believe it or not, I was approached by some lovely folks in Portland where they do stop motion animation. It was called Bent Image Labs. And Su Ling Toomer and Shell White, among others, approached me, and these are talented people, to write Hallmark's first Christmas special. Now you would think Hallmark, who put out cards all the time, and Christmas ornaments, would be a natural for that, and yet they had never done it. They had a character named Jingle. It was a dog named Jingle. It was a stuffed animal, and they decided that they wanted to have a special about him. And so I was hired to write it, and it came out amazingly well. It's so charming. The animation is gorgeous. Maybe we can show a little bit of it right now. Just beautiful. And then they hired me to write the sequel, Jingle and Belle's Christmas Star, which was same characters plus.
Hmm.
I had to give him a girlfriend. Unfortunately, the first special was named Jingle All the Way. So all my
Ah,
Google News blasts let me know every time Jingle All the Way is going to be on. And it's always the Arnold Schwarzenegger film. Drives me insane.
I bet.
I wish they had named it something else. But it was a lovely special and so charming. And the New York Times loved it. And everybody loved it, except it doesn't get shown that often. I don't know why they're sitting on it. I'll never understand. Yeah, but I've done other episodes of shows, special
Like,
episodes. I'm sure we'll talk about this later too. But I did an Arthur episode about a subject, a holiday that nobody ever writes specials about, Yom Kippur, Well, and it was about fasting. Arthur's friend Francine, who's Jewish on the show, on
Hmm.
the classic animated series, she has to fast, and I got Joan Rivers to play her grandmother.
Good for
And
you. A
lovely,
real
yeah.
win.
Yeah, no, because I was working with Joan on a few other things, and then she was all game to do it. And very simply, the episode was about Arthur's about to have a pizza party for all his friends, exactly when Francine is going to be fasting for the first time. And so there's that push pull. Oh my God, what is she going to do? Is she going to break the fast? Is she going to be a grown-up girl and make her grandmother and family proud? Or is she going to give in and eat the pizza at Arthur's party? And
I
that's
would
what
eat
they,
the pizza.
and I mean, I think I drew that from my own childhood. I'm pretty sure that happened. I can't remember the exact details, but so I've dabbled. I've
You also did
dabbled.
a Rugrats as well, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, their Rugrats did fantastic specials, which we'll talk about. But I pitched them a Purim episode, and they they couldn't do it for some reason.
I do admit, having known this, and I've
Yeah,
thought about it, like the Rugrats do Purim almost seems like an SNL sketch, right? Like a little bit. It's not that like they'll do a holiday, it's like they'll do this holiday.
I know. It's obscure compared to the big ones.
It is obscure, which is especially, I'm sure you must have seen For Your Consideration, the Christopher Guest movie,
Yeah, I did.
which was about making a holiday movie, Home for Thanksgiving, and then they changed it to Home for Purim.
I know.
I remember being in the audience and most of the Christians being like, what the hell is Purim? I don't understand. And then growing up with the Jewish cousin, I'm like, oh, do I know something they don't for the first time? So yeah, I,
There are well, let's call them slightly more marginal holidays
yeah.
than the big ones, the Hanukkah and Passover and all that. But you know, they have Shavuos, they have Tisha B'Av, they have Purim, they have all. I can go on with the
I'm
list.
still waiting for my Arbor Day holiday special. When's that happening?
Has nobody done one?
Pfft, who would do that in Secretary's Day? Line them up, like.
There have been Earth Day specials, I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
that's because we're trying to teach children about Earth Day.
Yeah,
Arbor Day, very few people remember it these days.
true. And I worked on a Kwanzaa special for one show. I'm trying to remember which one. This is the problem with having worked on too many shows. We
Oh, I know it
definitely
must be such an issue for you.
you're joking, but it actually is. When people ask me, I can't quote my own work. I mean, I don't even, I barely remember what I did this morning.
Fair enough.
But there was a Kwanzaa episode for something that I worked on. Maybe it was Mama Mirabelle's home movies. Maybe I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah.
Well,
Everybody wants a holiday special.
don't we all? Well, let's get to our guests, who are aptly named Tom and Jerry.
I know.
Unintentional.
I'm gonna rib them about that a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Well,
And make sure that everybody keeps watching and listening for the Alan Wagner interview afterwards because he has some really interesting things to say about how these things got started in the first place on TV. If not for his valiant efforts, who knows what would have, I don't know if they would have gotten on.
it is amazing how it happens.
It is. It is.
All right.
Anyway, much more to talk about, but we'll do it in the company of our two experts. Hi there, all you Looney Toonsters out there, and welcome to a very special animated conversation about animated holiday specials. We were talking about classics like Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, A Charlie Brown Christmas, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and many others, including some non-Christmas specials, plus some of the more obscure seasonal curiosities that became part of our collective childhood DNA. My ever effervescent co-host Raz Cunningham, that's a tongue twister, and I are joined today by two of animation's great storytellers, scholars, preservationists, and keeper of the flame. Animator, director, educator, author, and animation advocate Tom Sito, whose career spans studios including Disney and DreamWorks, Warner Brothers, and Filmation, and whose lectures and books, including his latest, Drawing Life Back into Animation, a personal journey through the toon renaissance of the 1990s, continue to preserve the history of the animation biz. And producer, archivist, author, and pop culture detective extraordinaire, Jerry Beck, truly one of the world's foremost experts on classic cartoons, and the creator of essential books, commentaries, restorations, and deep dives into animation history, many of which happen to be personal favorites of mine and line my bookshelves. Together, we're going to explore how animated holiday specials became our modern folklore. Emotional, heartfelt little morality plays, basically, that families have gathered to watch together year after year. At least I think they're still gathering to do it. We'll talk about that too. And along the way, we'll hear some fun behind-the-scenes stories, revisit forgotten gems and bizarre knockoffs. The He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special. Did you work on that, Tom?
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, well, I want to hear about that. Rankin Bass Nightmare Fuel, Jewish-themed holiday specials, including Joan Rivers as Bubby on an Arthur episode that I wrote, plus a wonderful archival interview with the late CBS executive Alan Wagner, one of the key figures who helped to bring the Peanuts specials and the Grinch to TV in the first place. So pour yourself some hot cocoa, flip on the blinking Christmas lights, fire up your menorahs and kinaras, say your kinaharas, and join us for the all-new adventures of the Tom and Jerry Show. Hello, boys. How are we doing today?
I'm fine.
Good. Very good. Thank you.
Raz?
Oh, I'm doing just well.
Okay. So let's dive into this subject. Christmas, we're recording this in May, but it's essentially Christmas or Hanukkah right now.
Mm-hmm.
I assume at least one of us was emotionally damaged by Rudolph when we first saw it. And we'll get into that too.
Yeah.
But let's kick this off with a simple one. Tom, Jerry, what are your favorite holiday specials and why?
Ooh, who wants to answer first, Tom?
All right, I'll jump in, and I always have an opinion. That's my problem. Yeah, I really love Charlie Brown Christmas. I think it's terrific, and I also love the Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. From like 1964. It's just the music by Jules Stein, who, right after finishing Christmas Carol, went on to write something called Funny Girl.
Yeah.
Afterwards. So it's excellent music and all, and just really just like a perfect holiday special.
Well, I of course agree with Tom. Magoo was an early one, which like someone said, nightmare fuel. I mean, the whole Mr. Magoo being scared by Scrooge and all that. It was pretty much scary for me. I love Mr. Magoo, and here he is being terrorized by ghosts. Charlie Brown, yeah, absolutely. Those are the Grinch. All those first ones. Were the ones that established the idea of a holiday special. I guess Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from Rankin Bass. Mm-hmm. Those are the key ones. It almost feels like all the others were just trying to, achieve that level. And there are a few that did, I think. Things way later on, like the Ziggy Christmas and
Ziggy's Gift.
We'll talk about that when the Cosmic Christmas from Nelvana, which was a real surprise to a lot of us. And, and of course, Frosty the Snowman. I mean, I can just go through mentally in my Rolodex in my head, but those first 3, 4, are, seminal and basically established the idea. They came in a little later. We'll talk about the origins, but they came in as primetime TV animation was beginning to fade in the early 60s, having been jump-started by the Flintstones. We'll talk about that. Yeah. But, those are the ones. They have become classics. It's hard for us to believe because Tom and I we grew up with them when they were on first run. And we can now see 60 years later or whatever it is, that that these have become bona fide family classics that people love. They're still merchandising Charlie Brown, the Grinch, Rudolph, like it's brand new. And I actually love that. Anyway, I'm going to stop there and let you ask us the next question.
Oh, before we do that, Alan, what's your favorite?
My favorite is How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Brown. Look, it's really, I hate when people say, what's your favorite anything? Because I'm not a fan of those lists, although Jerry wrote a fantastic book about the 50 best cartoons ever made. but because it's hard to pick
It is.
one thing. I have a kind of a beef with award shows that way too, because you're taking 5 or 10 very incredibly excellent things, and you're having to say one is better than the other. Anyway, I'll get off that soapbox, and I'll say probably The Grinch. And I think one of the reasons that I went into what I'm doing with my life is because of cartoons like Charlie Brown Christmas and The Grinch. I remember being enthralled by them when I was a kid. But as wonderful as we know they all are, it's hard to believe that there were critics and executives who behaved like Grinches back then and poured cold water over some of these things. CBS thought Charlie Brown Christmas was going to be a disaster. And you guys are going to hear Alan Wagner, the CBS executive who greenlit a lot of that stuff, talking about it later. But Hal Humphrey of the LA Times thought Grinch was a disappointment and much too mild. Jack Gould of the New York Times liked the animation, but said the Grinch was, quote, a creation that should be left undisturbed on the printed page. And the Barbara Delatiner, I don't know, from Newsweek called Grinch a disappointment, and the characters weren't half as funny as they were in the book. Why do you think there was all that negativity from the critics and the journalists?
Oh, if only they could see the Jim Carrey version. Yeah, then they'd change their tune. They were being, I guess, they must have grown up with the original book, and
we did too.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say why they were disappointed. I have no answer for that, because those specials are great.
Yeah, I think it's a generational thing too, because a lot of those people, writing as adults, when they were children, just lived, for those books. They just, the books brought everything to life to them, and everything. Just like, the generation of students I was teaching, live for their video game, for their games on their phones. That's the stuff that they're growing up on and everything. So it's a different metric.
Maybe when we were kids, we were more sponge-like too, and just taking everything in, verbatim at face value. We weren't saying, "Oh, it was better in the other form." I mean, my first exposure probably was the Seuss books. My mother read them to me, but I was wide open to all of these things, and a Peanuts fan too when we saw the special.
Yeah, and there was a special thing about when you're a kid, when it's getting towards the holidays, like all this different type of programming comes in as you get to you pass Halloween, and and you're headed for Thanksgiving, and suddenly these interesting shows start up. And I mean, when I was a kid, I remember Thanksgiving morning, the Macy parade would be going on on TV, and then you'd see the Wizard of Oz, and then you see March of the Wooden Soldiers, and you wouldn't see those until that.
Yeah. That's right.
So you came like, oh yes, the holidays are starting. Yeah. So
yeah, I remember Channel 9 used to run King Kong, I think, every on a holiday like that.
They did. But, and $1 Million Movie would run the same, like they'd run it 5 days in a row.
Right.
Which was precursor to, I guess, what HBO's sort of that template, being able to see some things over and over. Why does Charlie Brown Christmas get remembered as the beginning of the holiday special era when, Jerry, as you just pointed out, Magoo got there first? And of course, we'll talk about Petrushka too, which I know you posted on YouTube, which I watched recently. But why is that, do you think?
Well, it's everything about what made that the Big Bang at that time. It was a popular comic strip. The characters had been around. They'd even been animated on the Tennessee Ernie Ford show by Bill Melendez, Playhouse Pictures. And it was Christmas. It was an unusual thing. It was actually, in fact, I've been for years telling my students and anybody else who will listen, that in Japan and maybe other countries, there's a tradition of the comic artist, Mobius or Miyazaki or Tezuka, to translate their project into animation. That never happened in the United States until Charlie Brown, until Schultz had a hand in, producing and writing the special. And, so I think that's part of it. It was just the right moment. 15 years into its life cycle? It started in 1950. It had gotten to a certain prime point by the mid 60s. It was produced really, really well. The minimal animation worked for Peanuts. Melendez had already had this experience, not only doing the Tennessee Ernie Ford spots, but he had, I believe, he was involved with things at UPA like Madeline, which were adaptations of other people's work. So he was kind of a little master of taking someone's, other comic strip or book or whatever and turning it into a satisfying show. They embellished it just like the Fleischers embellished Popeye, having the, teachers sound with a horn or not having Snoopy's thoughts read. The children's voices, that sort of to me was debatable, but it worked certainly in the earliest ones. Very, very purposely cast.
Yeah.
The music we all know now, Vince Guaraldi's themes are now classic.
Oh yeah, I still see that record in pop culture stores all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it was one of those, I call them Beatles moments, one of those Marvel Comics of the '60s moments where the right people at the right time in the right place came together in a project that works, really works. And I think that's the reason, I mean, they had a major sponsor. They were on CBS. I'm trying to think, was that not true of Mr. Magoo? I don't know. But I think it's because it was, I don't know. Beyond what I just said, I
have a question for you because I mean, we all know The Simpsons started as shorts on the Tracy Ullman Show. Yeah. This is and I read a lot, but I did not hear about the Tennessee Ernie Ford Peanuts pieces. What were they, and how long were they? I don't think I've ever seen them.
Yeah, they're around. You can find them on YouTube. It was the Tennessee Ernie Ford Show, sponsored by Ford Automotives, and for whatever reason, Peanuts was there. Associated with that brand at that time. It's not unlike out here in LA, we have Snoopy is associated with Knott's Berry Farm, or every once in a while, a comic strip character, something became associated. Pink Panther for that insulation that, I mean, that sort of thing happens. And the Peanuts characters were part of that. Which is really odd because the characters can't drive. But what they would do is they would actually create a new animated opening for every show of the Tennessee Ernie Ford show, and it would be with the Peanuts characters in animation doing something that would lead to the opening of the Ford show, which is what it was called. I don't have any good answers beyond that. There's an episode where Snoopy actually speaks, and it's Paul Frees doing the voice, but we find out in a little segment that he's speaking off of a record that's playing. He's lip syncing. Right. So I like that trivia idea that Paul Frees did Snoopy's voice once, but I digress. And that's what those are. So
yeah, and I think there's a thinking of the cultural themes that are running through this, but by the time you get to the early 1960s, there was a certain kind of a creative a creative exhaustion, whatever, in Hollywood, and that was like all the cartoons and all the films and things like that from the 1930s and all, playing again and again and all, and the characters. By the time you get to the 60s, like the newer audience, the post-war kids are coming of age and all, and they want to see new stuff that reflects the time period. The idea with Charlie Brown Christmas going to jazz music was like really radical. It was very unusual, and because that was like sort of considered beat. It's like what they call the beat generation.
Yeah.
And the theme of Charlie Brown Christmas, which is basically, materialism is destroying the essence of Christmas. That's a very beat concept, and everything. Yeah. Saying that commercialism is destroying, culture, and so the idea that you would get that into a mainstream cartoon was like very unusual. But it clicked with audiences. Everybody loved it because it was something new.
I heard that Schultz was against the jazz music for a long time. He didn't want that in the first special.
Yeah. Everybody was expecting, jingle bells and old fashioned.
He wanted classical music.
Yeah. And this was, as the producer, Lee Mendelson, I think, found Guaraldi, and Guaraldi had like a jazz quartet up in the Bay Area, and hired him. And he had never scored filmed before
Hmm.
and everything. So he actually told the director, when they started, he go, "How many yards of music do you want?" He goes, "I don't know."
What were you going
Like,
to say, Jerry?
I was gonna, well, so many things
Yeah.
to say about that, but Melendez, as we know, started at Warner Brothers Cartoons in the 40s, but he was a mainstay. He was a major player at UPA in the 50s. UPA, well, the Warner Cartoons, but later UPA. These cartoons were pretty sophisticated. They were not aimed at children.
Yeah.
And Melendez and a lot of the people who worked at UPA in the 50s carried that on with them as they went off and did other things, especially John Hubley. But Melendez, had that in him. He had the right mix of what he thought that the such a special should be. That even though it was about little kids, like the Schultz comic strip, it wasn't aimed at kids. It was aimed at the general, in that case, newspaper adult audience originally, and I think and throughout. And I think that Melendez was a perfect choice to helm these specials because he really had the right, I want to say, subversive feeling. Tom is right that animation and the public's perception of animation by the mid 60s had completely changed. It changed really in the 1950s when old cartoons were being shown on kiddie shows on TV. And then it was somehow a surprise that animation could be aimed at adults when the Flintstones and the Jetsons came on in prime time. Suddenly that was like a little revelation, but audiences were hungry. Adult audiences were hungry for animation aimed at them as it had been before. And the specials, at least in the 60s, were initially that way. They were now the new place for that because the Flintstones got a little juvenile by the end, with the Great Gazoo and Pebbles and all of that. And TV cartoons were generally for children at that point. Saturday morning had just begun in that mid 60s period. So, I think Peanuts, a strip that more adults knew than kids knew back in that day. It had a serious theme. It was well done in every other department, and it just suddenly became the next sensation. Keep in mind, this is about a year before Disney passes away.
Yeah.
And it's odd in animation, Tom. We're going to talk about this more in the future, but Disney was the leader of animation. Yeah. Even if UPA came in the 50s, they were all trained by Disney. Mm-hmm. And when Disney passed away, there really wasn't a successor. Hanna-Barbera might have been that, but they were generally doing TV animation for children. So nobody really picked up that slack. And, this was a contender for that. I wish Melendez had done maybe some other things beyond this particular, style. But, we can talk about that.
I do have a question on that, actually. So you mentioned that there was no successor. I find, I'm an elder millennial here, and I find that my generation associates Walt Disney himself with animation because when an animated project came out, he put himself, his face and personality front and center with it. We had the wonderful world of Disney taking us into seeing Mary Blair, going through this is how we animate this. And yes, you get the rides of Disney World, but when I think about a successor, I don't think in terms of the business itself as what studio, what company is going to pick it up. I think who's the voice, who's the leader of animation. And I think because no one else was really putting themselves out there in the forefront, that might have also been where a successor failed to show up.
I think the problem at that time too is that it's which kind of leads into the book I just wrote. There's a generational shift happening, which is that the generation that did the golden age of animation, they all got into business around the same time. They all got in around the late 20s, the early 1930s. They did their finest work in the 40s and 50s, and by the late 60s. they were like in the late middle age. I remember one of my old mentors, Seamus Culhane, was at a meeting of animation elder, top animation directors in 1967 in Montreal, and he asked, he said, "Who's going to come after us?" Who's next? Because really, like when I got into animation in '75, I noticed that all the entry level jobs, like all the beginner jobs, were all like everybody was in their teens and 20s, and the animators were in their 60s. And there was this weird gap in between, which was that in the late 50s and 60s, as Hollywood was contracting, a lot of schools and all would tell young people, don't bother with animation. It's not going anywhere. It's dying. It's a way. I think a lot of animators like me and Glenn Keane and Eric Goldberg and all got told at one point by an elder, like, don't waste your time. Animation's not going anywhere. And they couldn't see, like what was coming. Like if you told me in 1975 that 15 years in the future, the most important show on television is going to be an animated sitcom with a yellow kid with a jagged head, I'd say you're out of your mind. It's never going to happen. Like,
you brought something up earlier about these things, with television positioning animation for children. I mean, all early TV animation, I think, still carried over that broad identity of being theatrical cartoons for general audiences as opposed to children. Do you think that we lost something when TV animation became so rigidly categorized as kids' entertainment? And by the way, one of my pet peeves is people telling me, or I read, that animation is for children when we all know it's not the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think we lost something when that happened?
Yeah, we did. We did lose something. I don't even, I talk about this all the time, that the perception of animation as a children's medium, which is only in the United States, everywhere else in the world, it's another wonderful storytelling medium of some sort.
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting. It's Disney. I tell my students that when you think about the history of animation, visualize a tree in an empty field in a park, maybe grass, tree, trunk, and all the leaves. And I say, the trunk is Disney. There's roots below that are what came before Disney. And then every branch and leaf in that tree is everything that's been happening since, from CG to anime, everything that happened. It all does. It starts from this one place. And when we talk about, UPA, which was doing something that Disney wasn't, but a lot of what they were doing, Disney actually already did. Disney was the Beatles of animation. They did everything. He may not have specialized, in a certain aspect, but I can actually point to things that UPA did that were radical, that Disney did it first, in Baby Weems or in Melody Time or this or that, the pink elephants on parade. And so you had this alternative group of animators doing more sophisticated animation in the 1950s at UPA. And then they go off and splinter and become the TV commercials, Yellow Submarine, all of the Jay Ward cartoons, those are all UPA people working on those. So it's a very interesting thing. But yet Disney is still the front and center name for the most part. It's amazing that Hanna-Barbera really never quite achieved that. The next name after Disney's passing is Ralph Bakshi, of all things, right? He became like the bad boy of animation, that kind of thing. It's animation is in some ways still in its infancy, and in other ways, this century, starting at the beginning of this century with CG and other formats and new outlets for animation, we're in a new phase with animation and where it can go. We're still waiting for that Walt Disney, that person who gets it and will take it to the next level beyond what it is. We are getting hints of that all over the place and almost every year. I was so excited a few years ago when Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out. And then I loved that it won the Oscar because it was progressive. It was an adventure animation that wasn't anime. It wasn't Batman animated series. It wasn't Johnny Quest. It wasn't even the Superman cartoons from Fleischer. It was a new take on that sort of storytelling. And I thought that was great. We do get these, this evolution continues. It's going to take creative people to be more serious about it and keep going. I mean, I hope that happens.
What did you think of Flow, which won the Oscar last
I love Flow. Flow is another one. Yeah. Tom, did you want?
Yeah. No, I was to say, no. It was fascinating, and it's great that it came from a place that's not known as an animation powerhouse, Latvia.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Back to animated specials. No one ever seems to talk about this about them. They all seem to be, well, not all of them, but most of them seem to be kind of melancholy. That seems to be at the root of them. Charlie Brown is lonely. He has a line, I think there must be something wrong with me. Christmas is coming, I'm not happy. Rudolph is mercilessly mocked and shamed for his nose, runs away from home. The Grinch is isolated and mean. And, the Misfit Toys.
Mr. Magoo sitting on his own grave weeping.
Yes.
What's wrong with
Yes. And there were terrifying images in the Magoo Christmas Carol, and the Misfit Toys are literally discarded. And I'm sure you know about the original ending. They weren't even saved in the original ending. They had to come out with another ending. Wow. But is there a sadder concept in the entire history of animated?
Well, I mean, Christmas is the happy ending, so to speak, on all of these things, and I guess that's how the story people must have seen it. We have to have the danger or the problem or the nightmares, and then everything is happy at the end with Christmas.
And it gets down to a cultural thing about it's the death of the old year. The solstice is like the darkest day of the year and all, and there's something primal, something in people about that sort of the reason why people hang lights and fresh evergreen everywhere and everything is to try to contradict that encroaching darkness. That's a thing. But
don't the best specials all involve some kind of healing of a spiritual imbalance?
Mm-hmm. Just saying like everything's out of whack, but at the end there's hope.
Yeah, even now, the newer specials still continue that same tradition. I watched, it was 2 years ago, the updated Peanuts, the Apple was doing Old Lang Syne. This one was centered around Lucy, and it was a New Year special, and she just thought her grandmother did not love her anymore because she wasn't coming to visit for the holiday. And it was just, let's cheer up Lucy the whole time. So she doubles down and I believe, the plot is she just tries to throw the best party to make sure that she feels loved by everyone else around her. And there is still it permeates to this day. There's never a Christmas special that's like, let's get the presents on time. That it's too simple.
Yeah. And it is that thing also about the like we were talking before about the mid-'60s was the era of beatniks going into hippies. So it's the beaches.
Oh, yeah.
And all, and there's a lot of like disillusionment with materialism, and like losing our values and all, just wanting to buy stuff, and that was the cross current under society at the time.
Right.
It carries on to today. I mean, you're saying that's kind of where it started with the beatniks and the Beat Generation.
Yeah, and like we were talking before about with Charlie Brown Christmas. Charles Schulz insisted, that Linus read that passage from the book of Matthew. Does that whole little speech about the origin of Christmas.
Yeah,
and the network executives lost their minds. It's like, what? You're going to read a Bible phrase in the middle of a cartoon?
Well, between that and the other tone and the other things I said about it, I mean, that's what made the Charlie Brown special. It was definitely not the Jetsons. It was definitely not, Saturday morning. It was definitely something the family could watch and talk about later. Yeah. And a welcome visit every year, in your home.
Yeah.
And we're all. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was going to say, yeah, and it is that thing about you could only see these during the holiday,
Right.
and like nowadays, anytime, like if I want to watch Charlie Brown Christmas now, I could just like bring it up on YouTube or bring it, I got a DVD or something. But back then, you just couldn't see it
Yeah,
until after Thanksgiving.
it was special.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you couldn't record it. You had to watch it at 8 o'clock or 7:30, on CBS or whatever.
Mhm.
And that was, you had to be there. Appointment television,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's we're nostalgic for that, but I dreamed of the day we have where I can have, every film that I've ever wanted, on my show. I mean, that was a dream, a pipe dream. How could that ever happen? But it did.
We were talking about music and Guaraldi and all of that. Would any of the holiday Christmas specials have become perennial classics without the music? What about the big ones now?
I don't know. I mean, I think many of them are based on the famous songs, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. I mean, I don't know. I'm just, a lot of them are based on Frosty the Snowman.
At least the Rankin Bass ones were,
You're
I mean,
a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Original song.
Yeah.
That's a good one. It's interesting about that one too. It's sung by Thurl Ravenscroft.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Thurl was the famous basso, in a lot of these Hollywood things, and he did Tony the Tiger,
Right.
all that stuff. And I remember around 2010 or so, 2008, I think, I freelanced a Tony the Tiger commercial. And I got to go, they're great, like that. And I said, who's doing the voice? I go, oh, Thurl. I go,
he was still at it.
He's still doing it. Yeah, he was doing it till he was like 94.
There's another one.
I was shocked. I was just like, it's really him? Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
You know what?
Somebody posted online some of the earliest ones that were done for the Adventures of Superman with George Reeves holding the box and Thurl's. It's great, from that show. That's how far back it goes. Yeah. I actually enjoyed last Christmas when Sirius XM has all these Christmas music channels, and the one that I had on, and they play the track from The Grinch, and it's listed as the artist is Thurl Ravenscroft. Wow. And I thought that was so cool.
Nice.
Although, of course, the music was written by Albert Haig and Ted Geisel himself. But when I was at Pratt, Thurl was brought in as a guest for one of our classes one day. Oh, wow. I had never heard his name before because remember he was uncredited on You never see credits on commercials. So by way of introduction, he did "They're great," and everybody instantly knew who we're talking to. It was fantastic. In terms again about the music, why do you think the songs and music became so essential to the holiday specials?
I don't know. Sorry, Tom, I keep butting in here. I'm trying to think of an answer for you. I mean, the thing is, music and Christmas, obviously it goes way, way back. Rudolph, Gene Autry, recorded Rudolph, and Christmas songs are always have traditionally been popular, in pop culture. And that's part of it. I think the music on the three main specials that we're talking about, or four, if you count Christmas, Magoo's Christmas Carol, I think because they were in every other way well received, the music became part of that. I don't know if any of them were driven, even Rudolph, by the music in the first place. But by the way, I remembered, I'm sorry I keep bringing up things like UPA, but UPA did a Frosty
Please bring up UPA anytime on this show.
We all love UPA.
They did a little Frosty the Snowman video. You can find it online. It's like a 3-minute thing that was sent to TV stations. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe it was filler for free, but it has the UPA logo on it, and it's a black and white little Frosty the Snowman thing at a time when there wasn't even or barely any original animation for television. They had this one little insert that seemed to go out and go around. TV animation in general, animation in the larger world was Disney. It was Tom and Jerry. It was Bugs Bunny. That's what it was in the late 40s into the 50s. You know, and UPA came around. The earliest TV things, as we all know, to give the whole history of all of this, was Crusader Rabbit, extremely limited animation, and a bunch of other early things that are kind of junky, you know, that are many of them are forgotten, but I show them at my worst cartoons panel at Comic-Con every year. And a lot of weird stuff until basically till Hanna-Barbera came along with Rough and Ready. They were preceded by Tom Terrific by Gene Deitch, that was shown only on Captain Kangaroo in 1955, 56, I think it was. And then Rough and Ready from Hanna-Barbera was the beginning of their empire. And it was tough. Everybody who got into animation in the 50s was looking for the cheapest way to do it, whether it was live action lips, limited animation, farming it out to Mexico. They figured out some really low budget way to do it. By the way, most people don't know that Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was animated in Japan.
Yeah.
I always tell my students it's anime. Not really, but it was designed, written, voiced in New York, I believe. But the actual animation was done by this one or two people in a very, very tiny studio in Japan.
Yeah.
And Rudolph started as a comedy album. This is something I have to explain. It's like there was a time when there was novelty albums.
Yes.
And everything. Like you would get the record and stuff and play it, and that's where it became a hit the first time.
Yeah.
And the thing about doing music also, like speaking purely as an animator who draws, it is that the great thing about songs is that you do cycles, and audiences recognize patterns and everything. So you have somebody waltzing or somebody dancing. You don't have to like do a lot of complicated animation, because once you got the cycle going, you can run it for a while and all that. And you save some money that way.
Isn't it amazing that that little insert of animation, we have to figure out who animated it, of the kids dancing from Charlie Brown's Christmas is like one of the most popular things ever,
It's amazing.
When they did the Charlie Brown theme on the Colbert Show last night, look at the band as they're doing it. They're doing the dance with their head. You notice that when you watch, they're doing the exact dance.
Tom, I'm curious, given your background with Disney, why, unless I have missed a vast swath of these, why so few Disney holiday specials? There's none that really stick in the memory, in the nostalgia. There's so few.
I think like, I mean, the Disney company for so long was focused on Walt Disney Presents.
Right.
He had that special From All of Us to All of You,
right.
Merry Christmas.
Right.
So that was a big one and all. But really, like the focus was on theatrical for such a long time that by the time we got to television, like they didn't really start to get serious about Disney Channel and things like that till the 80s, really, the late 80s, and while this high period of TV specials we're talking about is the 60s. So it kind of like it didn't really seem worth it to them to do a seasonal.
They have plenty. There are several like live action Disney holidays for sure, but animation, I can think of maybe two. It's just surprising given how influential they were.
Well, wouldn't you say? I mean, Jerry, you talked earlier about Hanna-Barbera versus Disney. Wouldn't you say that Hanna-Barbera was king of animation on TV for the longest time? Wasn't trying to compete with Disney, really. Yes, they made some animated features. I think Charlotte's Web was one of theirs. And some bad knockoffs and some so-so, not terrible ones. But I don't think they were really in competition with each other.
No, they weren't. Hanna-Barbera were pretty comfortable with what they were doing by, I would say, the late 60s. By then, they were secure. They did many Christmas specials, including, of course, things like the Flintstones Christmas and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yogi.
Just for the record, let's see now. You mentioned live action with Disney. Disney's first TV specials were Christmas specials. There was a 1 Hour in Wonderland, and there was another one, and they were basically promotions for the movies they were doing that were coming out the next year. But they were Christmas related. There are obviously Christmas scenes in some of the films they did, like Lady and the Tramp and things like that.
Right.
But I think they wanted to be what I call universal. They wanted to make sure that these things could play at any time of the year. And yet they would occasionally do a Christmas. There is a Mickey Christmas. I think Mickey's Good Deed. There's a Donald Duck with Chip and Dale, where they're all around the Christmas tree and things like that. It's interesting how few and far between that is.
Yeah. So I'm just Mickey's Christmas Carol. There have been a million Christmas carols, and there was a Mickey one too.
Yeah.
That's one of the only ones I can think of. That one scared me as a child. Seeing Goofy as Jacob Marley was like, he's going to come through my door.
So wait, Raz, did you not see the Richard Williams A Christmas Carol special?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
From like way back. Oh my God, it's
wonderful.
And any of you guys talk about that, because the style is unlike anything you've ever seen.
Well, it's Richard Williams. I know that Tom has worked with Richard Williams, so he has a lot more to say about it than I do. Chuck Jones somewhat produced it. And we used all the greatest animators. It was done in a unique, it's Richard Williams. He really needed to live 200 or 300 years to do the stuff I think he wanted to do. And we got a little taste of what he might have done in his lifetime. But Tom, what about that? That special is amazing. And by the way, it was made for TV, but it was at a time when the Academy forgot to, tie up that loophole. So it got nominated for an Oscar and won.
It won an Oscar,
even though it was a TV special. But go on. I'll stop you.
I was to say that. The wonderful thing about Dick's stuff was that Dick really stressed the detail and the artistry of the type of products he was trying to do, and in doing Christmas Carol, he really wanted to make it look like 19th century English illustration, that like Punch and things like that. Made it look like Victorian illustration, and he worked out a system of what we call cascading dissolves, which is what you would do is that to make up for the amount of drawings that you have to do and a lot of detail. I mean, when you work for Dick, you work really hard. Stuff like your hand really hurts at the end of the day, But what he would do is that they would put these little fades between the in-betweens. So instead of just doing drawing, one drawing would fade into another drawing, and it gives it this kind of like dreamlike, sort of like flowing kind of pattern, and it drove the cameraman crazy. But Dick said he says I've never made a movie easy for camera.
Well, you work with Williams on Ziggy's Gift, which, by the way, we haven't talked about Ziggy's Gift yet. Is a wonderful holiday special.
Thank you.
Tell us about that experience.
Yeah. Well, it was the same thing. I mean, Tom Wilson, who created Ziggy, that character was kind of peaking in the newspapers and stuff, and it was greeting cards and all this kind of thing, and we did a special on it. And again, Dick wanted to make it look exactly like the comic strip, the comic panel and everything. So we actually used to, I know this is getting really insider baseball right now. This is
really
yeah. But the old way that you would do stuff was that you would do the animated drawing, and you would either have it inked with an inker, or you would have it Xeroxed, onto the acetates, and that was painted. And Dick found a system of pens that you could draw directly onto the acetate, and it wouldn't smear or anything.
Really?
So we actually had to draw them on the cells. On the top, and that encouraged you to put in cross hatching and extra stuff like that. So
you did pencil drawings first, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, after a while, you learn to just kind of work directly onto the acetates.
Interesting.
It was really hard and all. But once you got and the good thing is that the design of Ziggy was simple enough.
Yeah.
That you could get that extra thing in. And Eric Goldberg was like our lead on that, and Eric works very clean and stuff. So his stuff was really kind of like he was a master of that stuff. And I remember when we were doing it, listening to the producers sort of argue about where when Ziggy would come out. And we're trying to find a good slot. You're just like after Thanksgiving, before Christmas, and the only slot they had was opposite Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. And Tom was like, absolutely not. That's death. You can't come out against Rudolph because people wait all year just to see Rudolph. Like Rudolph, Charlie Brown Christmas. That's the ones you got to. There's it's suicide trying to compete against those. And
did it actually run against Rudolph?
I think it did. Yeah. I think we came in third in the ratings. What
a shame, because it's really one of the most beautiful and gorgeously animated specials that I've seen.
Thank you.
We watched it. What did you work on in particular on the episode?
Let's see. I did the one of Ziggy fussing with his newspaper, sitting in front of the television set, and a bunch of scenes. A couple of them. The little Salvation Army, group singing Silent Night.
Remember,
So. Yeah, that was all fun.
Jerry, I know you're going to know about all of this. At a certain point, it felt like every network and every cartoon needed to have a Christmas special.
Oh, yeah.
And not because anyone really cared, but because everyone wanted December ratings.
Yeah.
So I'm going to rattle off a few names to you. And I know that you've probably posted some of these on metv.com. But what could you tell us about? And by the way, I actually sat through this again last week. Yogi Bear's First Christmas.
If you expect some kind of pithy, review, I can't watch some of these things. It bothers me to see, Yogi Bear being done like 20, 30 years later, and the animation isn't where it is. And as much as I know the writers and voice people, actually, now that I think about it, I really don't have any major opinions on any of these later things. They were just ways to exploit. Now, if you ask me about the original Yogi Bear show or something, I could probably wax.
No, we're not talking. That was quality compared to what we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, there were some great specials that were done. Obviously, Ziggy's Gift. Somebody remind me wasn't there a Bloom County that was really good?
Was there? There might have been.
And we didn't. I'm sorry to shift. I'm sorry to take it out of your hands here, but
I'll bring it back.
I actually want to hear Tom say something. I don't know if he worked on it or not, but the Cosmic Christmas that was a revelation when it first came out because it was good. It was a shocker, and the animation was actually good.
It's strange, but it is good.
And that one really, really renewed a lot of got our juices flowing for the idea of Christmas specials.
Yeah.
There's a Pink Panther special. There's just so many.
And everything.
Berenstein Bears Christmas. Everything you can think of was
I'm not afraid to give you a critique of Yogi's First Christmas. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's got a lot of bad songs. It's just stuffed with nothing good. I didn't even bother to paint the whites of Ranger Smith's eyes. It was so sloppily produced.
Oh, wow.
It's terrible.
That's like kryptonite to me. Just if you
me too, but I had to watch him for this podcast.
Well, there you go.
Tom, you think you might have worked on He-Man and She-Ra, a Christmas special. I mean, nothing says peace on earth like Eternia. It was only shown once.
Yeah.
It was broadcast once.
It's true.
You once told me that you called your first house in LA Casa de He-Man.
Yeah.
Because you did well at working on that.
And it's funny because I remember going to dinner at Lou Scheimer's house, the head of Filmation, and Lou had this big, beautiful house in the Hollywood Hills. And I was teasing Lou. I said, He-Man bought my first house, and Lou looked at me and smiled and said, Archie's. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Sugar, sugar, da 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 da.
But it's almost unwatchable. The Christmas.
Yeah. I mean that one is like I think Richard Wagner said once about a commission he got to do a centennial march for an American company. He goes, the best thing about that piece was the fee.
Yeah.
I mean, of the Christmas specials, only one run once. It might be right behind the Star Wars holiday special. But
Yeah.
I watched it again last week.
Holy day.
Yeah.
God.
I had friends at Nelvana who worked on that one, and they're still kind of shocked.
Well, if you're talking about the animated segment with
that segment's good.
That's
that's the best part.
The only good part. The rest of it is dreck. I mean, it's just.
What? You don't think B. Arthur's song is? No, I'm kidding.
Believe it or not, her song wasn't terrible, but the whole show is just. It's an hour and a half long of just horrible, horrible nothingness.
Yeah. They back in that year, as some of you youngsters may not recall, the movie was the gigantic hit, and I think the thinking initially was that it was a fluke hit, and let's cash in on it in every way we can while we have a chance. They didn't know it was going to be a forever evergreen, property, of which the movie that just opened with Mandalorian, that's the character that's in the holiday special,
basically,
for the first time.
Bounty hunter. Yeah, it's true.
Nobody expected that to be a hit, and people were so hungry for Star Wars stuff.
Yeah,
and everything because the movie came out in in summer, and then by fall and everything, it's like there's no more Star Wars stuff. What is there? And so this was kind of thrown together so fast.
We're talking a lot about Christmas and the whole Christian tradition, and there, at a certain point, I guess television realized that, there could be broader representation, holiday specials that were not strictly just Christmas. Mm-hmm. So they began to embrace, other cultural traditions and institutions, Jewish holidays, for example. I mean, Rugrats broke ground with two. There was a Rugrats Hanukkah and I think a Rugrats Passover. And I pitched the Rugrats Purim to the rebate, which didn't get made. But I did get to work on episodes for the grandparents, the Jewish grandparents, which was interesting and fun. Mm. But why do you think that Rugrats succeeded? Why were they the ones that? I think they were the first ones to do it, if I'm not mistaken. Were there other representations in holiday specials?
I have to think about it. I don't think so. I think part of what worked was cable television. Cable and the Nicktoons initially were the alternative. It was like FM radio back in the early 60s or something. There's an alternative channel now for animation that has this weird subversive but yet family stuff. And that was kind of it. They were doing things that the regular FCC patrolled networks weren't doing. And so plus I think there were probably enough Jewish principles involved with the creation of that show.
Arlene Klasky, I think she pushed for it.
Well, I'm sure there were others too, but yeah. And
the driving force of those first two specials.
I mean, they were intentionally trying to do things that hadn't been done before, and that's a whole other story. What Tom writes about, the Renaissance is actually, I'm realizing now as we all look back how unbelievably interesting that period is, and rich in terms of stories and ideas and styles of animation, and so it fit in well with that at that period with that time.
Yeah.
Do you think that cultural specificity makes these stories more universal? I mean, you can tell a Christian story to a general audience. You can tell a Jewish story to a general audience, as long as it's a well-told story.
I'm Jewish,
sure.
but a Reformed Jew. I did things for my grandparents, and I'm always fascinated by my friends who know more about the Jewish holidays and traditions than I do, and they love Fiddler on the Roof. You know what I mean? I'm really, I love it too, but I mean, I find it.
But that's universal. Fiddler is universal. You don't have to be Jewish to love Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah, it's true.
And every language, pretty much on the planet.
And
Yeah.
I know that when we were doing Prince of Egypt and everything, Steven Spielberg actually sent like his personal rabbi to come and talk to us, and give us some instruction about Moses and things. And there's one effects animator named Esther Barr, who's Jewish. She said, I can't believe this. I'm getting paid to go back to yeshiva class. Like,
That's funny.
Did he also bless the production?
yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, we had. I mean, they were so worried about culture war backlash and stuff. They brought in evangelical pastors. They brought in Muslim Sufis. They brought in. They had a screening at the Vatican. We were joking around about our producer. Who's a very fast talking David O. Selznick type of character. That that he would walk into the Sacred College of Cardinals and go, guys, I love the dresses. It's great. Yeah, who's the naked broad on the ceiling? What's up?
It's there. Things were, in the case of Nickelodeon in the beginning and the Nicktoons and all that, and then later subsequent cable TV cartoons. I think there was a feeling that the kids weren't just watching this alone, that they were watching it with their parents, unlike normal Saturday morning, which was basically, it was just kids' domain. And if people had a question about, Jewish holidays, the parents could in theory answer that, we were trying to be a little more universal. This was the period, The Simpsons had re-brought back animation for adults on prime time.
Yeah.
And there was more interest in, that kind of, and of course, this is also the period, what a period, that late 80s where we had American Tail, which was very Jewish. We had, we had Pee-wee's Playhouse. We had, cartoons and animation were definitely changing at that period. I'm leaving out something else.
Ren and Stimpy,
but even Tiny Toons. There was things that were changing in the universe of cartoons. Roger Rabbit. Roger Rabbit was such a hit. With adults, and that there was an openness to cartoons that wasn't there before in that later 80s period. It was safer to do something more adult, something that hadn't been seen, something that wasn't Hanna-Barbera and Filmation. They were the leaders at that time.
Yeah.
And I think also the other thing too was understanding the sort of balkanization of the audience. That in the 1960s, when you had a holiday special, you could get Charlie Brown Christmas had 16 million families watching it the first night, and the population in the country was 140 million. So that's like a really, really big chunk. When the Beatles performed on Ed Sullivan, it was like 32 million homes were watching it. So. Really, with streaming and cable TV and stuff, if you get an audience of 2 million, that's a hit. That's like considered a big deal.
Which brings me to my next thought here: has streaming killed the annual holiday ritual?
I know this is for the fellas, but I don't think so. I see so many, especially in our creator community, people carve their niches, whether it's you're going to tune into the 24-hour Christmas Story Net channel, or you're going to make sure that you watch Die Hard, which some consider a Christmas movie. It is all nostalgia based, to be sure. I don't see many people or hear of many people getting together saying, let's watch the new episode, the holiday episode of blank. It doesn't happen. It's the things I'd say pre-2000 that are part of that tradition now. But I apologize for jumping on that. I am curious as to what Jerry have to
I'm just wondering, could new holiday specials still become part of the culture the way those classics that we've been talking about did? Or are we just too fractured as an audience now?
Well, to me, we're in the middle of a transition again. We can't completely answer those questions until a few years go by and we see how that thing's worked out. What was it, a year ago, or there's been there was a new Peanuts special. I want to say it was a Christmas special. I forgot, but it looked great. And I watched it and I'm like, they really do good work. I don't know if people are tuning in for anything. It would have to have some celebrity driven, aspect to it. they used to have, remember Disney on the Family Channel had 31 Days of Christmas,
Yeah.
and everything all day was Christmas.
Yeah.
And so it's, I also am optimistic and believe that new Christmas specials and new things will come to be. And, hopefully there'll be some new classics that come out of that. I just don't know, and I don't see it happening immediately. We know Disney's been doing things, Prep and Landing. They occasionally take a movie, and I don't know if they did this or not, but they'll take something like Moana and do a Christmas, but maybe they didn't do that. But all the studios do these little spin-offs, but the specialness of the appointment television, we just don't have anymore. So, we'll figure out what that special thing is that
I mean, the ritual was a big part of it, of everybody, as Tom and you were saying, of everybody gathering in front of the TV once a year to watch these beloved, well, in certain cases, brand new. They didn't know they loved them yet, but these beloved holiday classic, experiences with gorgeous animation and great songs and music and all of it. I don't know. I mean, if anything, we're going in the other way, Jerry. Verticals are now the thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was at a dinner meeting last night. Everybody's making things for vertical consumption. And something horrifying was said at this meeting. If you don't grab an audience in 3 seconds, goodbye.
Wow.
They're on to the 3 seconds.
Wow. It used to be 5 minutes.
Yeah. I'll give you 10. I'll give you 10, but that's about it.
Yeah, well, that's us. But anyway, we're not going to change this, but it's just interesting culturally to observe it, especially coming from the backgrounds that we all come from, of more traditional viewing and loyalty of audiences.
Could you?
I mean, Tom and I, and perhaps you guys. I mean, we teach, at schools like Cal Arts and USC, and the good news is that we know by virtue of doing that we see what the students, the younger people, are doing and what they're into, and that right there is good enough for me that animation's going to continue one way or another. It blows my mind. I love teaching animation history because I'm literally introducing the students at Cal Arts to Fantasia or who Chuck Jones is and Fleischers, and they don't know. And I didn't know that till I first started doing it about 10, 12 years ago. And I'm like, now I know my purpose on this planet.
Are they blown away?
Spread the word.
Are they blown away by what they see?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's like a new discovery every week. And it's, and I love that in my case, and I know USC's great screening facilities there, and Cal Arts similarly, they're seeing it in Dolby Stereo or the best picture I can give them. I go out of my way to make sure we have the best presentation of these things.
I gave a talk at the Beijing Film Academy once, and I ran for them the baby mine sequence from Dumbo, from Dumbo's mother rocking him. And I could tell it's the first time they've ever seen it, because they were all tearing up. And it was like a big room, it was like about 50 kids and stuff, and they were like so moved. And I thought, this is the first time they're seeing this,
even out of context.
Yeah, and they just immediately connected with it.
Yeah, every I do one class where we show basically every Disney feature, not every because we can't really fit them all into the limited time, but we show every Disney feature, up to about 101 Dalmatians, and there's Fantasia, Sleeping Beauty, showing these to them, in a darkened theater room, where they can't look at their phones, and you got to look at the screen, and. It's to me, it's my mind is blown. They're like, they can't believe these were done, that these were made.
Fantasia is my all-time favorite film. It is. It always has been. It was like, I didn't know it at the time when I saw it, like as an 8-year-old, but it was the closest thing I've ever had to a religious experience, because there were so many different mediums going on, and just the opening sequence, which you could say is animation, but we're playing with lights and we're transitioning slowly. Like, it blows my mind. And I don't encounter many people that have seen Fantasia in general, of most ages. Yeah, truly, honestly, they know about Fantasia 2000 because in the last 3 or 4 years since AI animation has come out, the anti-AI reference is the last segment of Fantasia 2000, which is like the spring retaking the season as like the AI could never do this. And
Yeah.
so Fantasia 2000 format wise, we can go into another time about like how it may not have been the best presentation, even though, as I understand it, Walt wanted to do one every few years.
That's right.
I wish he did.
Yeah.
But the original Fantasia was just they take your hand from the moment that first frame rolls. This is what music is. This is how we're going to explain it to you. This is how we're going to try to visualize this audio. I to this day cannot think of anything that has moved me as much as that film. Honestly, can't.
I love that. When I was going off on this, but I love that. And when I show Fantasia, I go into an extreme explaining not only how it got there, but what Walt's intention was.
Yeah.
As you said, it was actually, in a weird way, we could debate this, but it's almost a dry run for what he was doing at Disneyland later. He wanted to create permanent Fantasia attractions in the major cities and then change them up every 6 months or a year. And what is that? That's a theme park. That's a theme park ride, and Disney is such a fascinating story. It's got layers and layers to it.
Jerry, how did that not happen? Because he made everything else happen that he wanted to.
Well, the movie didn't work, and it was partially, I think, because of the war. The war came, and it was in the air, and it was, that's the reason it didn't happen initially. Yeah. I always think about with Disney that if his original intention for the second feature after Snow White, blowing everybody's mind with Snow White, he was already synonymous, the name, with animation. He owned the field, but his next film was going to be Bambi. Bambi was going to be number 2, but he knew they weren't ready. They weren't ready. They started working on it immediately after Snow White because that was going to be the next picture. But he could see that they weren't there, his animators. They needed 5 more years to get there, and they did. But so the next film was another European art-directed Cobblestone Street Pinocchio. Nothing wrong with that. It's a great film. Everybody loves it. But between Snow White, Gulliver's Travels from Fleischer, and Pinocchio, that set what to the American public what an animated feature was. Yeah. It was this. Yeah. And so doing something like Fantasia was too experimental for the mainstream audience at that time. And anyway, I mean, there's so much to say about each one of these films and his career, and I can go on and on about it. So I'm going to stop.
Well, then let's start to wrap up, because I didn't even realize we're actually on here for like an hour.
Holy mackerel!
Time flies when you're having fun. Some quick hit questions, and you may not have the answers to these, but I'm going to, and Raz, you can play too.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to participate.
Anytime. I just want you to realize that you're part of this. What's the most underrated Christmas special or holiday special?
Ooh.
So these are opinions, of course.
Should have given us these questions in advance so we can
think. Nope, we want spontaneous reaction.
I without looking at anything, I would quickly say that the Ziggy's Gift. I mean, most people haven't seen it, and it's great.
Agree.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree.
That's true. Yeah. I have a warm spot for Magoo's Christmas Carol, just because it's not as popular as it used to be. And people have kind of forgotten about it, but it's really beautiful. And it's interesting too about even thinking about Richard Williams's Christmas Carol, which is fantastic. And Mickey's Christmas Carol. It's really hard to tell the story of the Christmas Carol in a half hour. It's really difficult. The Magoo one is 53 minutes. So it's really more an hour special.
Yeah.
but they managed to get the whole story in and
The essence of it, yes.
and really make you know and using the character of Magoo as Scrooge was just fantastic. He's just like was made for the role and all.
Playing him on stage in a Broadway production, which I'd never even seen those segments until recently because they were always chopped out every time I watched them.
Yeah, it's great to be back on Broadway.
Yes. Did you ever see that, Raz?
Yeah.
What's you cut out in the beginning?
There's a bookended segment in Magoo's Christmas Carol where he's driving. Of course, he's driving, to get to the theater, and he goes on stage, and he's late for the performance, and he crashes. Anyway, Magoo is an actor playing Scrooge on stage, and they keep coming away to the audience.
No,
animated audience.
Yeah, they don't show it that often. The uncut, the uncut version.
I've never seen it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Most terrifying character in a Christmas special.
Animated, goofy Jacob Marley, 100%.
Yeah. It has to be Jacob Marley, but from which one? From which film?
Yeah.
That's right. There's a lot of Jacob Marleys.
Yeah. I think in Magoo's Christmas Carol, I think Michael Hodron did the voice or something, but yeah, when he takes off the cloth and his mouth hangs down,
Marley,
that was pretty scary when I was a kid. And
it was terrifying.
And it is based on a Victorian true thing, is that when you died, they would tie this rag around your head because dead bodies would, they would naturally happen, and all that. That's why you don't. When they lay them out for a while, it's kind of gross.
We all have something to look forward to.
Yeah. I used to work in a cemetery, so I know this stuff. So,
and to me, by the way, the misfit toys are the most terrifying. I mean, I realize more than one, but they're hopeless. They feel unloved.
Oh, anyway, that's right.
Very scary as a child to me. Best narrator of a Christmas special. No fist fights on this one.
Well, obviously Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff
would be up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect casting, So
I mean, Burl Ives also, and Angela Lansbury did that first snow, about the first Christmas, the first snow, which was interesting to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another controversial one: best musical number. And this is tough because there's quite a few.
Yeah.
Best musical number. I mean, in a way, as I've mentioned, the pop culture aspects of, that it's not even a musical number. That dancing sequence in Charlie Brown, is I mean it's become a meme. It's a thing. Best musical number. I mean, I have to say I think the Rudolph. They're all good, but Rudolph. Some of the Rudolph songs, whether you like the animation or not, are pretty good. Whether it's Silver and Gold by Burl Ives or the Misfit Toys song. I mean, all these things are good. So
wasn't Holly Jolly Christmas in there too? Or am I thinking of another one?
I can't recall.
I can't recall either. There's too many.
I gotta give a small honorable mention to, was it Heat Miser and Snow Miser? Because over the last 10 years, I've noticed little bits of that sneaking into other things.
Yeah, no, that's a great song. I can't believe how good. What was it? Was a Year Without Christmas or something?
Year Without Santa Claus.
Yeah. Without Santa Claus. Yeah. A lot of bands have covered that, and the cover versions are really great on that song.
It's in a Batman movie. Yeah, it gets around.
Yeah.
We're just blankety blank blank all bad.
Yeah.
La 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 la.
I could torture you with more of these, but I'm not going to do that.
Please. But that's the fun thing about being around a bunch of animators. You rattle off a few lines of one song, and everybody knows it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But not just animators. These have embedded themselves in almost everybody's consciousness.
It's true. Yeah.
At least in the Western world, I imagine all across the planet. I'm guessing. I don't know. So before we close up, what have you guys been up to lately? Tom, you have a new book out. You want to tell us about that? Hold up the cover.
I have a copy.
Well, I said I just finished a book actually about the 1990s and everything. It's called Drawing Life Back into Animation and all, and just the idea was just thinking about that that transition of generations and everything, because I started the book with the birthday party that we gave to Grim Natwick. And Grim Natwick was this animator, lived to be 100 years old.
Yeah.
And he designed Betty Boop. He sat with a blank piece of paper and created Betty Boop for the Fleischers. And then he was a lead on Snow White at Disney, and he was a mainstay at UPA, and he was still animating in his 80s, for Richard Williams. And I remember Tisa David was this wonderful Hungarian animator who did a lot of Raggedy Ann. She like cornered me in a parking lot one time at the Annie Awards and said, "Tamas, you must make party for Grimm." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay."
And did you?
Oh yeah. And I said, and I said, who do I invite? You go, well, invite all his old assistants. Oh, who are they? Chuck Jones, Mark Davis. Frank Thomas. I go, oh, the kids. Okay, yeah, I'll call them up right now. But the thing is, that generation, as soon as they got the word that they were going to make a party for Grimm, they started networking. So they all started calling one another. And like Ollie Johnston and Chuck Jones did a lot of work, legwork, getting these. So we had like 500 people at this banquet, and it was huge.
Where was the banquet?
It was like it was at the Sportsman's Lodge in Studio City, and really it was their chance to sort of celebrate that generation. And our generation, the directors of Little Mermaid were there. The guys working on James and the Giant Peach, and there's a lot of early computer animators were there, and so it was that generation. And then so I kind of start the book with that, and then I finish with a reunion for Beauty and the Beast that we had. And that was like our generation, because our generation is now that age.
Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it?
The transition's happening again. We're watching it. It's just we're now on the other end of that whole thing. So,
is your book copiously illustrated?
Yeah, I think so. I tried to put a lot of stuff in. I put a lot of like little studio jokes.
Show us a little something.
Things like that. Let me see if you got some goodies in here. Oh yeah, here's a little Roger Rabbit stuff and the little Dick Williams thing.
Yeah. Right.
Stuff like that. And
it's essential when you have a book about animation. I mean, I have so many of Jerry's books, and they are just packed with drawings and images.
I don't write as much, but
you've written many books.
Yeah.
By the way, I was at that at Grim Natwick, as Thomas posted online the seating arrangement, right? Mm-hmm. Where you have, and I'm sitting next to Mae Questel, who I did enjoy.
Wow.
Sitting to. The whole thing was star packed with animation people. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't have cell phones where we can all take pictures back in those days.
Yeah.
So there are photos and there are, remnants of, of its existence, but there was even a video. There's a videotape out.
But it's interesting because Grimm lived to be 100 years old, and he had so much fun. He died 2 months later, but he said that's what he wanted to do. He said a lot of my family lived to their 90s, but nobody made 100. I'm going to make 100, have a drink with my buddies, then I'll go.
Yeah.
And he stuck to it.
And he did, yeah. And at one point, one of his old assistants said, "Grimm, I'm really sorry. I'm so sad you're dying." And he goes, "Well, what do you want? 200?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was lucky to go to dinner. Eric and Susan Goldberg invited me to dinner with Joe Grant when he was, was way up there in years too. The designer of Bambi. We wrote Bambi, I think, but he designed the witch in Snow White. I forget what else.
Well, his dog is Lady from Lady and the Tramp.
Right.
Is that true?
Yeah,
right.
That's his dog.
That's where it came from.
Yeah. God bless him. He lived to 97, and he had a memory like a steel trap.
But he couldn't hear anymore.
No. But
had a shout.
Yeah, and I asked him once. I said, "When did you start at Disney?" And he goes, Three Little Pigs,
wow,
1932.
Unbelievable. And then left and came back.
Yeah. So he came back for a lot, and he named Monsters Inc. Like the original name of the working title is like Scary Monsters or something. Yep. And I mean, the Pixar guys, like, there's a lot of discussion about how true that is, but it's Hollywood. Tell a story. So
exactly. And Jerry, what are you up to lately these days?
Well, I'll give you the list and you can edit it out. But
No, I'm not going to edit it. Just tell us what you're up to.
I'm still teaching. It's really my main livelihood. I also do a blog, cartoonresearch.com, and
Read it. Yep.
And I've been consulting. I got my little sale. I got consulting to the Me Toons channel.
All right.
It shows all the classics, and work for Warner Archive Collection. We have a series of Looney Tune vaults, which is new rare stuff. I've recently consulted and did audio commentary for this project, which is called the Famous Studios Champion Collection, which features something like 15 or 20 restorations of 1940s Paramount cartoons. And this has actually been a holy grail project that I've been wanting to see for a long, long time. And I highly recommend it to anybody who loves animation. The first 3 Casper cartoons are on here. The first Baby Huey, Little Audrey, Buzzy, and a lot of other rarities like you've never seen them before is all I'll say. Check that out. That's what I'm up to.
Okay, that's a lot.
It is. I have more, but I'm going to leave it at that.
Gents, we do have to wrap this up, as much fun as this is, and we could probably schmooze all day about all of this. Thank you both so much for doing this. We went off on a lot of tangents. We covered a lot of ground, but we did manage to talk about holiday specials too. Yeah. So thank you for that. And I'm wishing you both break legs with everything. Yes. Tom's ready.
There we go.
I have no Christmas things.
I don't think I do either, come to think of it.
I'm looking around, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's in our hearts, right? That's where
There
it
you
is.
go. That's it. That's it. Be official.
Someplace in our hearts. Thank you guys so much.
Okay.
Have a great rest of the day. I know you guys have an event you're doing in a couple of days or weeks or whatever. I hope that goes great too.
Yeah.
And we'll talk.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care. Thank you again. Nice.
Sure.
So thank you for agreeing to be
I don't
interviewed.
have a whole hell of a lot, you know. I mean,
It's okay, Alan.
I'm not an animation genius.
Even if I get 3 words out of you, that's great.
Oh, I got a couple of good ones.
What did you do at CBS, and for how long? When did you start?
Started in, let's see, 1960, 61. It's in Who's Who.
61. Okay.
And I was there for 21 years.
Wow.
I was until 67. I was in charge of all nighttime programs coming out of New York.
Okay.
That didn't include specials, but specials were, odd in those days. When I first got there, Aubrey was in charge, and I had developed a couple of shows. I helped develop a couple of shows while I was at Benton and Bowles. One was Dick Van Dyke, and one was Gomer Pyle.
Okay.
Now, Dick Van Dyke was a no-brainer. The only 2 shows that were possible for that same time period were Car 54, Where Are You, which was hysterically funny, and Dick Van Dyke, and they were both up for grabs when I went to CBS. And one of the questions they asked me when I was being hired was, which show should we buy? And I said, you got to buy Dick Van Dyke. It's not as funny, maybe, although I think long-term it may be just as funny, but it certainly has longer legs.
Yeah.
And it did.
Wow.
And the other one was Gomer Pyle, the obviously stupid show. And I went in there fighting and screaming for it, not because it was great art, but because America would love this. There's no way they wouldn't love this.
Right.
And I was the only person in that first meeting I ever went to with all the brass, with all these old pro CBSers and the new hotshots being brought in from the other places, screaming, we gotta do this show. We gotta put it on the air, and we did, and it worked. So I was in the inner sanctum. So I kept being invited to comment or vote or whatever on various things. I was part of a group like Gilligan's Island on the air, for example.
Okay.
One of my sins.
Wow.
So I don't know, this is not still I'm not sure of the years anymore because they're all swimming.
That's early 60s you're talking about.
Early 60s, yeah. Coca-Cola had made a deal with the Charlie Brown people.
Okay. Was Charlie Brown the very first?
Very first. For us, anyway. I think it was the very first anywhere.
Okay.
And they showed me some drawings. And I think I played me a tape of one of the songs. And a guy named Jerry, the Yeller. Liz, you remember the Yeller who
are you thinking of?
Jerry, went to CBS, he's calling, pounding on the door all the time. He's moved back to New York now.
God, I have no idea.
He was working at McCann Erickson then, and he was a Yeller even then. We hired him after a while. He came in with this thing and said, you got to put this on the air because Coke one of your biggest sponsors, and Coke needs this, and Coke wants this, and Coke loves this. And they're all saying, well, you're crazy. There's no way this can conceivably work. This is...
Who was saying that?
The brass.
Okay.
And the salespeople were saying it's going to hurt the shows around it, which is what concerned them.
Why would it hurt the shows around it?
Because they thought it would fail. No, that it's a kid show. Nobody the kids are going to watch.
Right.
Now, I knew Charlie Brown very well. I had a history with Charlie Brown when I was in the Navy at OCS. In those days, it was during the Korean War when I was at OCS. The Korean War stopped, as a matter of fact, while I was at OCS. The Panama John Conference got signed while I was there. It was still very tight. You couldn't sneak anything in. I mean, getting anything in there was like pulling teeth. And they wanted you to spend full time working on Navy shit. One of my friends had smuggled in the Daily Strip. I don't know how he got it. And we passed it around these open barracks, and they were screamingly funny. Especially in that context, they were screamingly funny. So I had this real passion for Charlie Brown. This was me, even back then, iconic. It had saved my life at a difficult time.
Yeah.
So I had this kind of emotional overlay. And I was just marching him down the hallway, screaming about how wonderful the underlying material was. I had not seen the finished product, obviously, but how wonderful the underlying material was, how cute these drawings were. They were so faithful to the original.
Yeah. And it was not a big hit nationwide yet?
The strip?
Yeah.
It was doing well. It wasn't iconic
but
yet.
It wasn't. Well. It was not a merchandising machine yet.
It was like any strip.
Gotcha.
It was a popular strip.
Okay.
But the stuff was brilliant. I mean, it was clearly brilliant.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of it. I know.
Oh God. And
what did they actually show you?
Some drawings.
In color?
Some color drawings.
Yeah.
And I showed it, not to me alone, I showed it to a lot of people.
Did Charles Schultz, was he part of the presentation?
I never met Schultz until years later.
Never did, okay.
When he signed, years later he signed Snoopy drawings for each of us.
Okay.
Which I treasured.
Yeah. So who was actually coming around? People from Coca-Cola?
Coke, McCann Erickson. Remember, these are the days sponsors still had a lot of power.
Right.
And Coke was coming around. And they came in through the sales department. They didn't come in through programming. They came in through the sales department.
Okay.
Screaming and shouting and saying, "We're Coke. We're big. We want to squeeze this on the air."
Yeah.
And I think I may have been the only voice in the wilderness saying, "But it's going to work on a pure program level. Forget about the power of Coke. It's going to work. It's Christmas. How bad can it be at Christmas time? It's a sweet story."
Yeah. And your position at the time was?
I guess the title was Director of Nighttime Programs in New York, something like that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And,
but you were making national decisions.
We met regularly. We met twice a year in full conference.
Right.
To set the whole schedule, and I was part of those meetings.
Okay.
And we meet often in the Gilligan's Island thing, for example. They were trying to hide that show because they hated it. They were so embarrassed by it. California.
Who was, CBS?
Yeah, the CBS guys in California. And
how would they hide it?
They said it didn't turn out well, and we don't have a print, and it was days before cassettes, and they're trying to delay until after the program schedule was set. But they had tested it in California, which is a big mistake, and the testing turned out very well.
Yeah.
So I in one of the rump meetings with Aubrey, I said, "What is this thing, Gilligan's Island? I see these results." And so he got real pissy and demanded a 60mm print. We had to go up to the Pathé Studios at 106th Street at midnight one night to see it because there was no place open that we could see a 60mm print.
And this was the pilot?
Pilot. And we screamed. It was hilarious.
Okay.
I said, it's dumb, but it's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
And it got on the air. So we had those rump meetings a lot. And then a lot of input from sales, then, because sales really drove the issue. Mm-hmm. A lot of input from program practices who was nervous about things. But the big input was from sales and business affairs. They were very, very powerful.
Right.
And Aubrey was dictatorial, but Aubrey was dictatorial both for his friends on the one side and for projects that he liked on the other.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I escaped his wrath. I'll never.
Did you get along with the guy?
Yeah, I still have his cufflinks. He gave me his cufflinks after he got fired. I still wear them.
Wow, because they called him the Snake.
Oh, the Smiling Cobra. I saw him flay people alive. I rather liked him because he made decisions.
Isn't that funny?
I mean, I know he had a lot of closed-door meetings, and he could be terrible and awfully cruel, and he gave deals to people like Keith Brazell and David Susskind who didn't deserve them.
Yeah.
Because they were friends, Ted Ashley, who were friends of his, and I'm sure paid him back. But,
right.
But in terms of getting a network on the air, he did a hell of a job.
Did he have anything to do with the decision on the Peanuts special?
Always, yeah. Nothing got on the air, but if Aubrey was still there, then I got to remember the dates. If Aubrey was still there, then I think he was.
Okay.
It wouldn't have gotten on the air without his being. You can check the dates.
I can check on that. I have the hiking book still too, and that goes into a little bit of detail on Aubrey.
I thought he was smart and tough.
Yeah.
But in the final analysis, CBS was number one.
Right.
And that's all I cared about. And I got decisions. I got yes, no's. That's all I wanted. And the guys who were immediately above me, Mike Dan and Oscar Katz, would vacillate like crazy.
Excuse me, that's Mike Dan.
D-A-N-N.
And
Oscar Katz. Mike
Oscar
Dan was
Katz? Okay.
Oscar Katz is the unsung hero of CBS, I got to tell you.
How so?
He was head of programs for a short period of time around all this turmoil. Mike Dan was head of New York. Oscar Katz was head of programs when I got there. He got pushed down back to being head of daytime, which is what he had been, when for show they brought in Hubble Robinson, brought Hubble Robinson back. Now, I'm not sure in what part of that cycle this show came up.
Okay.
But Jim hated Hubble. Paley wanted him back because Hubble had been part of the Playhouse 90 golden age,
right.
and he wanted some of that gold to shine back on us after the quiz scandals.
Right.
He reported to Aubrey, and it was inevitable that sooner or later Aubrey would get him.
Mm-hmm.
He got him, incidentally, this way. You should be aware. In the middle of a meeting, Hub is giving a presentation on next season's schedule, as he sees it. And he's about into Wednesday, and Aubrey is sitting there playing with a pencil, and he says, Hub, you're finished. And Hub said, no, I have the rest of the week to go. And Hub said, and Aubrey said, no, you're finished. Pack up and get out of here this afternoon.
Yeah.
That's how he fired
I've
Hub.
heard that story.
Truth. Hubble came to our house that night, and got
you were there at the meeting?
No, but he came to our house that night, to Marty and my house, and cried, and we drank a lot, and finished in a moment's bouquet the next morning with a note saying thanks for the useful home.
Yeah.
And died not long afterwards. I liked Hubble.
Wow.
But anyway, but there's no way they two could coexist. But Mike would never make a decision if he could avoid it. I mean, he liked to postpone decisions, unless he could be a no. He liked no decisions.
Yeah.
Oscar would make really powerful decisions, but he was so unprepossessing a human being. He was bald and kind of skinny and didn't have much of a presence that people tended to overlook him. But he was real smart. He was going to put 60 Minutes, screamed that 60 Minutes should be in prime time, for example.
Wow, no kidding.
And nobody remembers him.
That's a shame. Is he in the book, all the many books that have been written?
People tend to forget him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'd like Aubrey for all those reasons. So if Aubrey was there, he made that decision. If it wasn't Aubrey, it had to be Jack Schneider, who immediately replaced him. And Jack wasn't going to make any decisions at all. He would do it by committee.
But you were the champion?
I was one of them.
You were one of them, okay.
Yeah, Phil also liked it. Phil Capice, the guy in charge of specials, liked it.
Could you spell his last name?
C-A-P-I-C-E.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And there was also a guy who preceded him named Jerry Leiter, L-E-I-D-E-R.
Okay.
Who was very big, and I'm not sure it was Leiter or Capice at that point.
Okay.
Jerry Leiter went on to become a big shot producer out in California. They went to MGM for a while, was a big shot producer out in California for a bit. And so maybe Jerry then at that point, depending on when the thing came in.
Uh-huh.
Because there was a lot of change at that point.
Was there? Okay.
Well, Leiter was there for a while. He was a Mike Dan favorite. He left, was replaced by a guy named Mike Campus, who went on to become producer in California, and he was replaced by Phil Capice, who was his assistant. And I'm not sure where in that process this one came, but whoever was in charge of specials at that point, and you can get the dates exactly from any history of CBS.
Oh, sure.
Also liked the show, but I was probably the most vocal in those hallways. Running up and down and saying this thing is an American icon. It's important. It's great for the network. It's good image. It's everything. It's Christmas time. All these lovely things. And it got on the air.
Okay, question for you.
Yeah.
You said that the presentation was some color images, and you said they played some music?
I recall hearing an audio tape.
The original distinctive composition, the piano piece?
No, it wasn't that original piece.
What's his name? Vince? I forget his last name.
But what Jerry, whatever his name is saying, I can't remember his name, the guy from McCann Erickson.
Okay.
We're saying we're going to have music like this. It's not going to be a full symphony orchestra. It's going to be a little tinkly music.
Gotcha.
So I had an idea what the kind of sound was like. It was consistent with my image of what the piece was like.
And there was no script at that point?
No, I didn't see a script.
Okay.
I saw his drawings in the story.
Gotcha, okay.
And the script may have existed, probably did, but all I saw as a script was a story, some pictures in a story.
But that, along with your knowledge of the thing, was...
I must have read, by that time, 300 strips. I mean,
were people pitching animated specials all the time?
Not to me, not nowhere. We had... not long after somebody came, we tried to do Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Okay.
Moving from daytime to nighttime. That was after this. And specials were, they were still in the Pat Weaver sense specials. They were spectaculars,
Gotcha.
The idea of preemptions would cost a lot of money.
Yeah, I would imagine.
That's the other factor that the sales department kept reminding us. Even though you get Coke money, you're kicking off another sponsor. You're not. This is not additive money. This is not. This is replacement money.
Couldn't Coke kick itself off though, in that sense?
No, they weren't on that regularly.
Oh, okay.
So you're kicking another show that's fully sponsored because CBS was sold out
in
those days, You're kicking another show that's paying for itself or making a profit for it. You're kicking that off the air. What do you do with those commercials? We don't need this show for money. I mean, we're not. It's not like we're replacing a show that's failing.
Right. Did the agencies scream back then about this?
About getting them kicked off?
Yeah.
The agencies hated preemptions.
Right.
They had their ad schedule set for a year ahead. They had the campaign set for a year ahead.
Sure.
And they didn't like being kicked off the air for anything. So preemptions were a major problem. Which is why when you preempted something, it was either for a major news event or what Pat Weaver, the saint Pat Weaver, would call spectaculars.
Right.
Can't even call it specials. I mean, you did, enormous stars or a major dramatic event or something.
Right.
But to do it for a half-hour comedy with animation, that was bizarre.
Sounds like it was unprecedented.
It certainly wasn't a good business decision. I mean, it had to make sense for other reasons.
Yeah.
And I thought it made all kinds of sense for CBS.
How did it do?
Oh, very well. It did extremely well.
Did it do? Do you remember if it did better in its time slot than what it was preempting?
It wouldn't have mattered, but it did well enough to make it worthwhile.
It did. So, and I forget which one the first one was. I think it was the.
It was Charlie Brown's Christmas.
Well, it was Christmas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Did you?
That was part of what I could sell was as a Christmas special.
Gotcha. And
So
and is that what directly led to ordering more of these things?
In order, the next one up was Great Pumpkin.
Right.
And
how soon after was that decision?
I think immediately we started talking about
Really?
That was the next holiday. Yeah.
And this was the Coke people you'd talk to.
Yeah, with Coke. How can Coke?
You wouldn't go to Melendez, the producer. It was the sponsor.
Coke had the end.
Very interesting.
But around that time, I was getting ready to go to California.
To live?
Yeah, and
Okay.
so I to stop. I mean, the whole process of doing more and more of these things became less and less interesting to me.
Okay.
Unless it was going to be a nighttime series. I mean, and that was clearly not going to be the case.
Okay.
I mean, my head was starting to move toward program development for series, which is where obviously my future was going to be.
Absolutely.
But one other thing happened during this period, which was that a guy named John Burns, who was our salesman from MGM, owned The Grinch.
Right. Now, who owned The Grinch?
MGM.
MGM did, okay.
And he said, Seuss is as big an icon as Charlie Brown is.
Mm-hmm.
And the argument then was, but not one character has emerged the way these characters I mean, you say Charlie Brown, the world knows what you're talking about,
right.
But Seuss is an author, not a character.
Maybe the Cat in the Hat.
Maybe.
Out of all of those.
But later, not even then.
Yeah. Okay.
And everybody knew Dr. Seuss. I mean, kids knew Dr. Seuss. Adults, as far as our bosses were concerned, were really off the scale.
Gotcha.
Nobody would watch a Seuss. Not a possibility in a million years. And then he brought in Chuck Jones, who was charming.
Here in New York.
Into the office. By then, Jim Aubrey had been fired, as I recall. There's a sequence of events. Mike Dan got fired on a Thursday. Jim fired Mike Dan on a Thursday.
Right.
Or Wednesday night. Mike called me at home and said, "It's all over, kid. You may as well start looking around, send out your resumes. Aubrey just fired me."
Right.
And it didn't scare me as much as he thought it would, because I think Jim liked me, and
right.
so I wasn't so afraid.
Yeah.
2 days later, Aubrey got fired.
Wow. Was this Paley doing the firing now?
Stanton fired him because of underhanded. Paley liked Aubrey because he was successful.
That's right.
And the programs were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that Paley liked about it. How's our bottom line? Is it okay?
Right.
And other programs, not going to embarrass me.
Mm-hmm.
And at least 3 or 4 cases a year make me proud.
Right.
I want some Emmys, and I want to be number one.
Mm-hmm.
And we were every year for 21 years. We were the number one network and the world's largest advertising medium. And we won the Emmys consistently every year.
Yep.
So Paley was happy. He didn't want Aubrey to go. He didn't want to upset the apple cart.
Mm-hmm.
But Stanton had caught him doing some things that were underhanded. Nobody ever knew exactly what. It involved a party down in Florida, and
really?
I think it was Natalie Wood may have gotten her arm broken. Somebody got her arm broken down there, and of course an orgy. And he was drunk, and he decided he was taking money under the table. But they found him naked on the street.
Oh my God.
And that was enough. And that was that. So it happened on a Thursday night. It was Friday morning they fired him. Saturday he was packed and gone.
Yeah.
And so I get a call from Mike 2 nights later saying, "Don't send out your resumes. I'm now in charge." And
this is Mike.
Mike Dan.
Dan. Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't the president. He never became president. He was head of programs.
So wait a minute. Let me get this straight. He was fired.
He was fired on a Wednesday night or a Thursday.
Then Aubrey was fired.
And Aubrey was fired.
And Dan was rehired.
Dan was promoted, in effect.
He went. In other words, he really never was fired.
He was, but it never took effect.
Okay, gotcha.
And because the guy got fired, and he moved up a notch from head of New York to head of all programs.
Okay.
Oscar Katz got demoted back to wherever he was in daytime. Larry White, who haven't had a daytime, had to move out of there. Everything got fucked around a little bit.
Yeah.
But Dan was happy because he was now head of programs.
Right.
And they brought in a guy named Jack Schneider, who had a squeaky clean reputation, who had been just a station guy.
Right.
He wasn't in the network at all, to clean up the Aubrey Act.
Okay.
So I think it was Schneider then when we were in Mike's office when the pitches were made on the Grinch.
And who came in? It was Chuck Jones.
John Burns, Big John.
Yeah.
And his boss, whose name escapes me.
Okay.
The guy in charge of all of MGM in those days.
Okay, I can find that out.
Was really a big guy. And Chuck.
Those three guys.
And they met. John and the big guy, not Chuck. I can't remember the name. Stopped at my office, which is on the 33rd floor.
Yeah.
And gave me a statue, a Grinch statue. And I said, "This is what it's going to be like." And I still have it.
They had a maquette.
I had Grinch in his Santa Claus hat, leaning on something. Leaning on a stump.
They made a maquette and used it as a promotional thing.
And made a plastic cast of it.
Wow.
And we broke off the tip of the hat at one point, but aside from that, we still have it. It comes out every Christmas.
Wow. That's wild.
And
painted?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Wow.
And the character is so funny, and they had one for Mike too. And,
Okay.
Very
smart.
And I went up and said, "This Christmas again. I mean, how can you lose? I mean, the worst is going to happen. And this is direct sale to the network as opposed to being a sponsored thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we did so well with Charlie Brown. You have a perennial. That's the advantage. Every year you come back, you increase the ratings every year. There's no additional program costs except residuals. You make a deal for X number of plays. You play it every year. It's a natural, and people start looking forward to it. And that was really the beginning of all the Christmas specials. Those two. That began all the Frosty the Snowmans and
I know.
And all the other crap. And they were brilliant, both of them. And Chuck Jones was, I mean, when we saw the first cut...
Tell me about the pitch from Chuck Jones and the other two guys.
First they gave us the book. We know over the book.
Okay.
And so we know the book. And he said, it's going to look like this. It's going to be funny. And but I'm not fucking around with the story. The story is essentially the story you see, but I want to do it so that you'll see Dr. Seuss the way I do it, a little bit loony, on the air.
Right.
And that's what he did. And Max was his invention, I think. At least the character of Max may have been his invention. I don't remember
the dog is in the book.
Is in the book, but in that same kind of characterization?
Similar, yes.
Because he was so funny. And,
yes.
And Max is what really made it work.
They gave, because the book, the story itself wasn't long enough to sustain a 22-minute or 25-minute, whatever length a piece, they had Chuck Jones and Seuss worked out extra business. And one of the areas that they were able to do that with was Max.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
Well, it was so funny.
They put in shtick.
And we started seeing. I never saw a pencil test or anything. The first thing I saw was a cut.
Okay.
And because I already moved on to these other things by then, and it was as fall down funny as we had hoped. I mean, the initial charm of the story was there.
Right.
And the catch in your throat at the end, which still gets you every year, because Chuck knew how to do that too.
Yep.
And so did Seuss. But it's fall down funny still.
And the cut that you saw already had Karloff's narration.
Oh yeah.
And Albert Haig's song.
No music.
No music yet.
Just Carlos narration. And that was a brilliant stroke, which is not ours, incidentally. I'm not pretty sure it was Chuck's or MGM's. I think it was Chuck's.
Okay.
But Karloff was a brilliant choice.
Oh, yeah.
And I wish I had made that choice. It had nothing to do with it.
But who do you think made that choice?
I think it was Chuck.
Okay.
My hunch it was Chuck. I mean, Chuck is a genius. I mean, he's one of the people, I search out on Cartoon Network if I find it's a Tex Avery or Chuck Jones cartoon, I'll just make it a point to try to watch.
Yeah. He's quite ill now,
Yeah, I'd heard. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, I was staying with Eric Goldberg, and Eric is like the son Chuck never had. He and Susan are two of the only people that actually visit Chuck every couple of weeks because he's wheelchair bound now. It's very difficult for him to talk. And people are afraid.
I knew he was real bad. I knew that.
Yeah.
I don't know how bad it was.
People are afraid to go visit him.
Yeah, sure, they're afraid they'll catch it.
Well, I don't know what, they're intimidated or whatever.
All of the above.
Yeah. So
But I mean, he's one of maybe the 20 people in this industry I idolize, and without any reservation, he was enchanting as a human being, reserved, but enchanting. It was a reserved pitch, a very shy pitch.
Really?
Burns did the noise. Burns and his big, we all call him Big, whatever it was. Because he was so large.
You called him Big something?
Yeah, well, it's like Big Mike or Big, whatever his name was.
I wonder who this was.
You'll find out. It was the guy in charge of MGM television.
Okay, I'll find out.
And he was very generous at Christmas time. Let me tell you that. I mean, so generous at Christmas time that you had to think about returning the gifts.
Really?
Everybody. I mean, not just us, but everybody.
Wow.
I mean, that seemed to me, and even to Mike at that point, to be a no-brainer. I don't think Mike needed much convincing.
Right.
He was fairly new in the job. He wanted to make some kind of noise. Charlie Brown had worked. We had Chuck Jones, who was, such a brilliant reputation already.
Proven already, absolutely.
It's not like going to Melendez and, new people. This is a known commodity. It's MGM with people we dealt with a lot in those days.
Yeah.
There was a kind of guarantee built in. It was going to have a certain level of quality, and the story was Christmas and a natural, and so that wasn't hard to sell.
So how did it do for CBS?
Oh, extremely well.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was a smash, and it played for years.
How did that work? When once it played once, how did you guys?
Well, every deal was sui generis, so I'm not sure exactly what deal we cut with MGM, but normally you cut a deal. A normal deal would be for one play plus X number of reruns.
Okay.
I would guess in a Christmas special, which you usually only play once each year, it would be probably 1 year plus five additional years at decreasing prices each year. But there may have been a bump built in for ratings. That sometimes happened. If it reached a certain rating point,
more money.
The price went up. Now, so every deal was sui generis. I didn't cut the deals. But, in those days, some deals never got signed. I mean, the Defenders went on and off a year before a contract got signed.
Really?
It went on for 5 years, and the contract didn't get signed until Paramount tried to buy their company.
Wow.
Handshakes counted. They really did.
Yep.
Checks exchanged. People, people went home and had dinner on the money they were earning, and the show got on the air every week. But
why were contracts not getting signed?
It was a pain in the ass. You had to go through the verbiage, and you knew the rough outlines of the deal, and checks got cut, and CBS's word was good, and the producer's word was good. No way. Now everything is in contract.
I know.
But
everything is a lawsuit waiting to happen.
That started changing almost. Yeah, it's true. I mean, Fred once said it very clearly. No deal is a deal if they try to break it.
Yeah.
But that started changing by the time I was in California. There was 1 year I was commuting, and I paid no attention to business affairs then.
Right.
Because I had no time. Once I said I want this show, I'd give it to business affairs, they'd make the deal. And that essentially is the way it worked. I mean, the program guy would say, I want the show, go make a deal.
Right.
And then I've got business affairs that come in, so we can't. And we'd say why, and then they'd tell us, and then we'd try to find a way out. But mostly, they'd work it out somehow.
Uh-huh.
But by the time I was living there, which is a year or so later, for the next 5 years, you pretty well had to get involved in the deal making as well. I mean, the business affairs would tell you day one what the contract situation was, and you didn't sign an actor until that deal was set.
Right.
Everything changed by that time. It was not that long. It was like 5, 6 years, 7 years. Everything changed.
Wow.
Is that all you need?
That's all I need for that.
Yeah. Stay in touch.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for the interview.
It's my pleasure.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.